A Minute with Alan, and this one is called Boards, B-O-A-R-D-S. And I'm going to tell you from my vast experience something about boards and how to deal with them, very briefly. And that's this. Boards are generally too large, especially in nonprofits. A board should be small. Boards are there for governance. That means they help evaluate whether the strategy is working or not, and they evaluate top officers. That's what boards do. They don't decide whether to serve veal or chicken at a fundraiser. They don't decide whether the third floor should be redesigned. Those are not their decisions. That's not why they're there. They have a fiduciary responsibility. They have a responsibility to shareholders to make sure the place is being run correctly and well, and if not, to take action. Now, I just looked at the boards of these schools that have been called in front of Congress, Harvard and MIT and University of Pennsylvania. And they listed the other Ivies as well. And MIT, of course, is not one of them, but MIT has a 70-person board, a 70-person board. You know what that's called colloquially? A mob, okay? You don't get anything done with a 70-person board. You're just trying to please everybody. I will give you social proof. Years ago, the American Institute of Architects was a client of mine, a couple of years. And at one point they said, look, you're doing great for us. Would you help us set strategy? I said, well, I can do that. How big is your board? They said 54 people. I said, we're not setting strategy with 54 people. I'm a strategist. I'm not a football coach. They said, yeah, well, we have to have them all. I said, why do you have 54 people? They said, we have to represent every kind of architect. Big city, small city, commercial, residential, yada, yada, yada. I said, well, that's fine. But we need a smaller group of people. Do you have an executive committee? They said, no. I said, fine. Pick 12 architects on the board, make them your executive committee, and we'll set strategy. They said, how do we know which ones to pick? I said, pick them at random. Are they all good? They're all good people. Pick any 12. I don't care. We'll set strategy and we'll introduce it to the rest of the board. Well, that's exactly what they did, because I refused to do it without doing that. We set an excellent strategy, and one of their first recommendations was to fire the executive director, who was making $1 billion a year, had a wonderful office with a fireplace and a private bathroom, and just sat around saying how wonderful architects were. He was fired in my living room because they wanted to surprise him and not do it at work. That is an honest-to-God story. And if you're working in strategy, if you're working with boards, and this is especially bad in nonprofits. My wife and I have been on 24 boards together. We've run boards, especially bad in nonprofits. Keep the size small or work through an executive committee. Otherwise, there's a technical name for it, and it's called chaos.